her head away from these seeming rapids and hug the rock, or she will give you the slip and over yonder before you know where you are, and you will be the death of us. So they did as I told them, but I said nothing about the awful monster Cecilia, for I knew the men would not go on rowing if they did, but would huddle together in the hold. And one thing only did I disobey Circe's strict instructions. I found my armor and seizing 2 strong spears, I took my insane on the ship of the house, for it was there where I expected fearlessly the monster on the rock who would subdue my men so much harm, but I could not make her out anywhere, though I turned my eyes about looking at the gloomy rock all over and over, and we entered the streets in great fear of mine, for on one hand was Scylla, and on the other dread Charybdis, kept sucking at the salt water as she vomited. That was like the water in the cauldron that was boiling over upon a great fire, and the spray reached the top of the rocks on either side. When she began to suck again, we could see the water inside whirling round and round and made deafening sound as it broke against the rocks. We could see the bottom of the whirlpool all black with sand and mud, and men were at their wits' ends for fear, while we were taken up with this and were expecting each moment to be our last. Scylla poured down suddenly upon us and snatched up my success men, and I, looking at once both ship and men, and in moments I saw their hands and feet ever so high above me, struggling in the air as Scylla was carrying them off, and I heard them all call my name in the last despairing cry as a fisherman seated spear in hand upon some jutting rock threw his bait into the water to deceive the poor little fishes and spears them with the ox's horn, which was his spear is shod, throwing them gasping onto the lines as catching them one by one. Even so did Scylla and these panting creatures on her rock, and munched them up at the mouth of her den, while they screamed and stretched out their hands to me in the mortal agony. This was the most sickening sight that I saw throughout all my voyages. When we had passed the wandering rocks of the Scylla, terrible Charybdis, we reached the noble island of the sun god, where were the goodly cattle and sheep belonging to the sun Hyperion. While still at sea in my ship, I could hear the cattle lowing, and as I came home to the yards and the sheep bleating, then I remembered that the blind Theban prophet Tiresias had told me how carefully Aegean Circe had warned me to shun the island of the blessed sun god. So being much trouble, I said to the men, my men, I know you are hard pressed, but listen while I tell you the prophecy that Tiresias made me. How carefully Aegean Circe warned me to shun the island of the blessed sun god, for it was here, she said, that our worst danger would lie ahead to ship, but therefore away from the island. The men were in despair at this, and Eurylochus at once gave me an insolent answer. Odysseus, said he, you are cruel and you are very strong yourself, and never did worn out. You seem to be made of iron, and now 3 more men are exhausted of toil and want to sleep. You will not let them land and cook themselves a good supper upon this island, but bid them out to sea and go faring fruitlessly on through the watches of the flying night. It is by night that the winds blow hardest and do so much damage. How can we escape should one of these sudden squalls spring up from south, west, or west, which so often wreck a vessel when our lords and gods are unprofitous? Now, therefore, let us obey the behest of the night and prepare our supper here hard by the ship. Tomorrow morning we will go on board again and put out to sea. Thus spoke Eurylochus, and the men approved his words. I saw that heaven meant us mischief, and said, you force me to yield, for you are many against one, but at evening break. Each one of you must take his solemn oath that if he meets with a herd of cattle or a large flock of sheep, he will not be so mad as to kill a single head of either, but will be satisfied with the food that Circe has given us. They all swore as I obeyed them, and when they had completed their oath, we made the ship fast in the harbor that was near a stream of fresh water, and the men went ashore and put their suppers. As soon as they had enough to eat and drink, they began talking about their poor comrades, whom Cecilia had snatched up and eaten, and the witness set them weeping on one time crying till they fell off and sat sound asleep. In the third watch of the night, when the stars had shifted their places, Zeus raised a great gale of wind that blew a hurricane so that the land and sea were covered with thick clouds, and night sprang forth out of the heavens, when the shout of morning rose near dawn appeared. We brought that ship to land and drew her into a cave wherein the sea nymphs hold their courts and dances, and I called the men together in council. My friends, said I, we have meat and drink in the ship, let us mind therefore not to touch the cattle, or we shall suffer for it, for these cattle and sheep belong to the mighty sun, who sees and gives ear to everything. And again they promised that they should obey. For a whole month the wind blew steadily from the south, and there was no other wind but only the south and east. As long as corn and wine held out, the men did not touch the cattle, and they were hungry. When however they had eaten all that was in the ship, they were forced to go further afield with hook and line, catching birds and taking whatever they could lay their hands on, for they were starving. On one day therefore I went up in mind that I might pray heaven to show me some means of getting away. When I had gone far enough to be clear of all my men, and had found a place that was well sheltered from the wind, I washed my hands and prayed holy gods, and I went to still by and by they sent me off into a sweet sleep. Meanwhile Eurylochus had been giving evil counsel to the men. Listen to me, said he, my poor comrades, old deaths are bad enough, but there is none so bad as famine. Why should not we drive in the best of these cows and offer them in sacrifice to the immortal gods? If we ever get back to Ithaca, we build a fine temple to the sun god, and enrich it with every kind of ornament. If, however, he is determined to sink our ship out of revenge, for these horned cattle and other gods are of the same mind, I for one would rather drink salt water once for all, and have done with it than starved to death by inches in such a desert island as this is. Thus spoke Eurylochus, and the men approved his words. Now the cattle, so fair and goodly, were feeding not far from the ship. The men therefore drove in the best as they could, and they all stood round them, saying their prayers, and using young oak shoots instead of barley meal, for there was no barley left. When they had done praying, they killed the cows and dressed their carcasses. They cut all to the thigh bones, wrapped them around in 2 layers of fat, set them some pieces of raw meat on top of them. They had no wine from which to make drink offerings over the sacrifice while it was cooking, so they kept pouring on little water from time to time while the inward meats were being grilled. Then when the thigh bones were burned and they had tasted the inward meats, they cut the rest up small and put the pieces upon the spits. By this time my deep sleep had left me, and I turned back the ship into the seashore. As I drew near, I began to smell the hot roast meat, so I groaned out to our prayers of immortals, gods, Father Zeus, I exclaimed to all you other gods who live in everlasting bliss, you have done me a cruel mischief by the sleep into which you have sent me. See what fine work these men of mine have been making in my absence. Meanwhile, Lampety went straight off to the sun and told him we had been killing his cows, whereon he flew into a great rage and said to the immortals, Father Zeus, and all you other gods who live in everlasting bliss, I must have vengeance on the crew of Odysseus' ship. They have had insolence to kill my cows, and were the one thing I love to look upon, whether I was going up to heaven or down again. If they do not spur accounts of me about my cows, I will go down to Hades and shine there among the dead. Sun, said Zeus, go on shining upon all us gods and upon mankind over the fruitful earth. I will shiver their ship until to pieces with a bolt of white lightning. As soon as they got it out to the sea, I was told this by Calypso, who said she had heard it from the mouth of Hermes. As soon as I got down to my ship and to the seashore, I rebuked each one of them separately, that we could see no way out of it, for the cows were dead already. And indeed the gods began at once to show signs and wonders among us, for the hides of the cattle crawled about, and the joints upon the spits became so low like cows, and the meat, whether cooked or raw, kept on making a noise just as cows do. For 6 days my men kept driving in the best cows, and feasting upon them, that when Zeus, the son of Cronus, had added a 7th day, the fury of the gale abated, we therefore went on board and raised our masts, set sail, and put on to sea. Now, as soon as we were well away from the island, and could not nothing but sky and sea, the son of Cronus raised a black cloud over our ship, and the sea grew dark beneath it. it. We did not get on much further, for in another moment we were caught by a terrific squall from the west that snapped the force race of the mast, so that it fell aft, while the ship's gears tumbled out the bottom of the vessel. The mast fell upon the head of the helmsman, and the ship's stern, so that the bones in his head were crushed to pieces, and he fell overboard, as though he were diving, with no more life left in him. Then Zeus let fly with his thunderbolts, and the ship went round and ran, and was filled with fire and brimstone, and lightning struck it. The men all fell into the sea, and then they were carried out into the water around the ship, looking like so many seagulls, but the god presently deprived them of all the chance of getting home again. I stuck to the ship still in the sea, knocked her sides from her keel, which drifted about by itself, and struck the mast out of her in the direction of the keel, but the backstay of the south oxthong still hanging about it. And with this, I lashed the mast and keel together, and getting astride there, then carried whither the winds chose to take me. The gale from the west had now spent its force, and the wind had gotten to the south again, which frightened me lest I should be taken back to the terrible whirlpool of Charybdis. This indeed was what actually happened, for I was borne along by the waves all night, and by sunrise had reached the rock of Scalia, and the whirlpool she was then sucking down the salt sea water, that I was carried aloof towards the fig tree, which I caught hold of and clung on to like a bat. I could not plant my feet anywhere so as to stand securely, for the roots were a long way off, and the boughs that overshadowed the whole pool were too high, too vast, and too far apart for me to reach them. So I hung patiently on, waiting till the pool should discharge my mast and wrap again. In a very long while it seemed. A juryman is not more glad to get home this supper after having been long detained in court by troublesome cases, and I was to see my raft beginning to work its way out of the whirlpool again. At last I let it go with my hands and feet and fell heavily into the sea hard on my raft and onto which I then got and began to row with my hands as for Sally, the father of gods, and would not let her get further sight of me, otherwise I should have certainly been lost. Hence I was carried along for 9 days, till on the 10th night gods suspended me on the Uji island, where dwells the great and powerful goddess Calypso. She took me in and was kind to me, but I need say no more about this, for I told you in your noble wife all about it yesterday, but I hate saying the same thing over and over again.